Good evening. My name is Dr. Aesha Mustafa, she, her pronouns, and today I'll be talking about healing out loud, a Black woman's truth on the power of breaking silence and ending mental health stigma. So thinking about getting here today, I almost didn't make it. And why? Because I once had thoughts of killing myself. I almost didn't make it here today because I thought I'd be forever 17 years old, forever 20-something years old. I almost didn't make it here today because of my depression, my anxiety, my PTSD, my suicidal thoughts, and my eating disorder. I almost didn't make it here today because I thought I'd be a strong Black woman. The fact that I was a therapist, I had to be strong for everyone and carry the weight of the world on my shoulders. And so you may be thinking, she knows this is recorded, right? Like maybe we should pass around a collection plate and get her a journal, get her a lock. And once upon a time, I would have agreed. I would never have said these thoughts out loud, let alone said them to myself. And somewhere along the way, probably between the countless therapists and countless medication changes, I decided that I feel best when I heal out loud, when I share my voice and try to end the stigma that Black girls, they can have eating disorders, Black girls can have depression, they can have anxiety. Mental health providers can have these issues as well. So today, my idea worth spreading is, what would it look like to heal out loud? So on the slide, we see little baby Aesha, 3 photos from the ages of 4 months old to 7 years old, full of joy with the round cheeks and the bountiful hair that she has retained into her 30s, by the way, and a radiant smile. And this is before elementary school, when the darkness started to set in. I remember in elementary school, my worst fear was someone would call me fat. That someone would realize my last name, Mustafa, spelled backward, was a fat sum. I had a lot of faith in kids would figure this out. And I remember when I was 11 years old, I went on a diet by myself. And so I'd pack my lunch, and for dessert, I'd pack a really chilled 4-ounce unsweetened applesauce, and that was how I'd get through the day. And I remember being hungry at school and being like, I'm gonna lose weight. And I did lose weight. I lost 12 pounds. Yes, I remember the exact number. And I went to the doctor, and I think she's gonna praise me, and she didn't say anything. Going to high school, I was always a high achiever. So the photos you see here on the top left is me at my senior grad party before I went on to college. And the right-hand corner is me on a swing for some reason at my senior photo. And what I recall in this photo is thinking, for the swing photo, I hope I don't break this. And in the photo of the senior photo, I thought at grad party, I wonder if I can fit this dress when I come out of undergrad. So my mental health was taking key moments for myself. So in high school, in 9th grade, under the advice of my doctor, I went on a diet. And I went to a program, and every week I would learn about how to make healthy choices and portion control, and I would weigh in and get praise and all the things. And slowly the healthy eating switched to disordered eating. And so I would not shower before I went to weigh in because I was afraid water would seep in my pores and show up on the scale. I would wear the same clothes every week, even when they're falling off, because I want to make sure I knew exactly how much I would lose. I declined social events and family funerals because I didn't know what food would be there and could I control it. I began to get cold even though my weight was at a healthy BMI. And so in 72 pounds, I lost in 9 months, the perfect 1 through 2 pounds a week. But underneath all that was the shame and silence and all the mental math I would do. So I was a high achieving student, and I was the president of the National Honor Society, the vice president of the Spanish Honor Society, class secretary, worked 15 hours a week for fun to build a resume, and also played the marching band, the clarinet, by the way, woo woo. And also while I was in my AP classes, my honors classes, I would do mental math in the corner of how I could shave off points and calories to think about what can I eat today. I may have cake on Friday, so I shouldn't do that today. And maybe if I work out before Thanksgiving, and you can see how this went on. Senior year, I began to have panic attacks. So at my job, I worked at a restaurant, and I would often escape to the refrigerator or the walk-in freezer because it would calm me down. Depression was getting the best of me, and I was missing school, and anxiety felt like an elephant was sitting on my chest. And soon the suicidal thoughts came, and this was scary because Black girls, like, we don't have eating disorders, we don't have suicidal thoughts. Like, what are we sad about? Like, our ancestors have dealt with way more than we have ever dealt with, and yet I was experiencing those. And so I went to a therapist, and a Black therapist, because like, okay, I feel safe with her. I started medications, but I still felt the shame that I shouldn't need to do this. I was the strong friend, the one in all the classes, the one who was getting to the best schools and the honor roll and all those things, and yet I was suffering in silence. Going to college, things got better. So in the top photo, we have me skydiving and this wonderful experience with my friends. And I remember concerned, like, would my weight be supported by this? Look, there's fat flying in the air. And the other two photos, the top one is me in Colombia, and in Spanish it says, to be Black is to be beautiful. And the bottom right is a photo of me in Ghana playing the drums in a market. And every one of those photos, I thought about how do I physically look, and my joy was captured or removed from those instances. And so in college, I originally went with all the excitement. I was like, okay, girl, you're gonna slow it down, you're gonna do the best. You're just going to take it easy. And of course, you know how the story goes. I did not do that. I picked up on the job in the summer because I like to be hyper independent and have access to more money than I maybe need. And then I kept in the fall, even though I told myself I wouldn't, and I worked at 6 a.m. shift because that was the calm shift, and then I had the rest of the day to do all the activities. I was a double major and double minor because I figured if I was gonna have school debt, mine will have all the papers to show for it. And depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts, and PTSD, and eating disorder all came rushing back. And I felt the shame again of like, how is this possible? I dealt with this should be wrapped up. So again, I went to a therapist and started on meds and went back on the weight loss program, but I knew my eating disorder brain was there, so I needed to be careful and not restrict or binge or do anything like that. But of course, I still had the math of, okay, friends, we're gonna go on Saturday. Where do we wanna go? So I can scour the menu and I'll think about this, okay, and maybe if I drink like Diet Pop with this and that and do all the things. And so this continued on and off for years. Grad school, Aesha, as one keeps going to school, I actually got my master's in social work and learned how to be a therapist, the irony of all of this. And then I got my PhD. So in this photo is me, my first day getting my PhD, and on it, it's one of those signs that say, first day of school, what are my favorite activities, how old I am, and what future job do you want? And the future job I wanted was to be a professor, which I did become. And also in this photo, I thought, what is the photo gonna look like when I finally graduate? I'll probably be a little sad because I just finished another degree, but am I gonna look bigger? So I didn't wanna post this because I don't want people to wait for another photo. Again, joy taken away from me by mental health. And during this time, I would think about, okay, you want to get healthy, maintain a healthy weight, but how do you do this in a way that doesn't trigger the eating disorder brain? And so I joined really good workout classes, but I'd be hyper fixated on my heart rate looks really low compared to everyone else, even though I just had an amazing workout. I would think about closing my fitness tracker rings at the end of the day. And I was nearing midnight and I wasn't reaching it, so I'd run in place a little bit. But on the surface, I was fine. I wasn't restricting my food. And so I kept performing strength through battling silently. So during this time, my husband and I also thought about growing our family. So it's like, I'm gonna be the good patient, client, therapist. I'm gonna go talk to the doctors, went to the dentist, cool, this and that. So I talked to my primary care provider and we talked about, okay, your mental health is stable because of the meds, but like we can get off the meds and like try. I'm like, cool, okay, fine. And so she's like, slowly reduce it, but the last 10 milligrams are gonna be really hard to do. I was like, okay, cool. And then on one weekend, I was like, I'm good. I'm a strong Black woman. Like, she doesn't understand these 10 milligrams. I got nothing on me. And so I went off, and as you can imagine, it went really poorly. So for 48 hours, I'm in bed, I'm crying, I'm depressed, barely eating, barely drinking water. My emotional support dog, Bailey, she's like, I did not sign up for this, please return me. And it was a lot. And so on Monday, as one does, I get up and go to work, and as every day, I weigh myself, and I lost 5 pounds. And the eating disorder brain said, ooh, that's good. And then normal me was like, girl, that's not how you lose weight. And so, finishing grad school, my husband and I finished our PhDs. We started new jobs. We were in the process of looking for a house, and I got pregnant. And this photo of me is when I'm 36 weeks pregnant with my emotional support girl, Bailey, and I was smiling at her at my baby shower. And I remember when I got pregnant, there's initial euphoria of like, I am healed, I don't need therapy. Like, I was joking because I knew like we needed the therapy and the meds. And then there was this mental health crash mid-pregnancy, and I was like, what is happening? Like, this is so intentional. Like, I don't understand what's happening. And so this is my journey when I began to think, what if I healed out loud? And so I was talking to my beloved midwife, and she's like, well, why don't you join the group prenatal care? You meet once a month, you talk to other pregnant people. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll do that. And then I always have this weird thing, like, I'm the Black woman, I'm the therapist. I'm not supposed to say I'm mentally ill, because then why would anyone else want to go to therapist if they know we're all kind of messed up? And one day I was like, I think I just played with my dog and was crying for whatever reason. And so I shared what was going on. Other people said, I feel that too. And other people said, I don't feel it, but I really appreciate you saying that. And so I began to think, oh, this is helpful. And so then she was like, well, why don't you get a doula? And this is, doulas are social support people, and they help you during pregnancy, labor and delivery, postpartum. And I was like, that's great. I used to work with maternal infant and health specialists, but like, that's not for me. Like, they're gonna have to stand the whole time and like, take care of me, take care of my husband. Like, that's just a lot. Like, I should be taking care of people. And she met me with compassion, curiosity, and then I got a doula. And then with my doula, she was like, why don't you make a birth plan? I'm like, cool, sounds good. I was like, I would like to try unmedicated. I'm not against epidural, but like my ancestors, my mom, everyone gave birth to that. Like, I need to be strong and do that. That's a whole other story. And so then they're like, well, what if you need a C-section? I was like, if it's absolutely necessary, but like, I don't want people taking care of me postpartum and like having to care of my baby because I'm too weak to do that. So I don't want a C-section because I would be vulnerable. And so we continue to talk about that. And so I try to heal out loud and share with them what was going on. I attended a Black moms group in the local Ypsilanti area that helped me with the vulnerability. I made connections at different events and sharing what was happening. I told my best friends, my parents, my family, this is what it looks like for me. Postpartum, I'm gonna say I'm fine, and you need to keep pushing. Telling my husband, like, if I keep saying I'm fine, call my family, just do it. So during this time, I also struggled with medication. Like, I don't want to stay on it. I know it's helpful. I don't want to have the baby. And they're like, man, we've had this conversation. You're a therapist. You know this. You used to work with maternal infant health providers. I'm like, I know, but like, I'm different. And kept going through all of that. So moving on to some of the theoretical parts. So there is something called internal family systems that helps you understand parts work. And so IFS sees the mind as parts. Each has its own story, its own intention. So you have your critic that judges you, you have your protector that wants to keep you from pain. So for me, I learned to love my suicidal parts. And that sounds really odd to say as a therapist, that they were actually protecting me. There was some reason that they were there, I need to listen to them. And so in this image, it shows there's different parts: the critic, the manager, the firefighter, the exile, and the protector. In the middle is the core. And so when I'm thinking about my suicidal parts, they're telling me I'm unloved, I don't have access to love. And what would it look like to get closer to that love? And so you're wondering, present day Aesha. So this photo is an image of me reading to my child on her birthday. It's a quiet moment of loving and learning and offering my body the compassion it deserves. Originally, when I saw this photo, I'm reading her a book and I'm thinking, oh, my arms, they look like arms. And like, I don't want my arms to look like arms. And like my stomach, and like I should have done something. And then I looked at that part, and that part was telling me to tear down this photo, and that value is through attraction. And I try to listen to that part and think, okay, what is actually happening? And then I melt this body, this picture with compassion. And what this part was telling me is to not judge myself, because I was judging myself, I was judging myself. It's a very fun time. And instead it was like your kid crawled into your lap and she laid down and then you read a book, and now she like hands me books, and like, when I say books, it's the same book, she just keeps doing it, and the same one, and it's just a magical moment. What I ask all of you here today is to think about what it may look for you to heal out loud. This isn't about my story, it's about all of our stories. And I ask that you give yourself permission. Maybe I've given you permission to do that for yourself. What would it look like for you to live a soft life? To maybe go to therapy, to consider medication? And as I said in the beginning, I almost didn't make it here today, but then I did. Thank you so much.